Have you ever wondered why some relationship seems to flourish while others crumble? Imagine this, you're having a heated argument with your partner and things spiral into defensiveness, accusation, silence. What if I told you there are 4 subtle yet destructive habits that can predict the end of your relationship? Today we are diving into John Gottman's 4 horsemen theory of apocalypse, and trust me, this can save your relationship. Today we'll be discussing about the 4 habits, and I'll also be telling you what are the things you can do to make sure this mistake does not happen in your relationships, and also what are the things you can discuss with your partner so that your relationship stays on track. Because let's take the obvious. It takes 2 to make a relationship work. The number 1 habit is criticism. When you're having a heated argument with your partner, it's more than likely that you will feel triggered by them and you'll criticize their personality and not their action. By using statements like you always or you never, it's more than likely that your partner feels like they are not enough because you are attacking their personality and not their actions. And trust me, I understand. I have engaged in it too. Because when you are having disagreements with your partner, it's more than likely that you will engage in black and white thinking. But it's not helping either of you because your partner feels like they have to defend their personality and you feel like your concerns are not being heard enough. So what can you do about it? Please make sure that you use statements starting with I rather than you always or you never. For example, if you are annoyed by the fact that he didn't do a particular task or they didn't do a particular task, it's so much easier to engage in a conversation where you're like, I feel annoyed when this responsibility is not taken care of, or I feel overwhelmed when this responsibility is not taken care of. Can we make sure that this is delegated equally? And I understand it's not always possible to talk in therapy talk when you're talking with your partner, and I think this is where the next thing comes, where you have to discuss with your partner and see whether your relationship can handle constructive criticism from one another. I am sure you might have seen the TikTok trend where they say you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. And this does not mean that you can be downright disrespectful to your partner just because you can say whatever you want to them. But it also means that you do not have to use the precise word or say the exact paragraph, or you do not have to make it in such a way that you have to talk to them only in a certain manner. It does not have to be that way. You need to make sure that your relationship can withstand constructive criticism from one another. Your partner should make you feel like I need to be a better person for them. I need to learn how to speak better so that my partner does not feel attacked, but rather I'm just voicing my concern. And they should never make you feel like you are too much to handle whenever you're just voicing your concerns. The second habit is defensiveness. Now let's just assume that you are the person your partner is criticizing. I know your initial instinct might be to jump and say all the ways you have been a good partner to them, but I want you to remember at that point of time, it's not about you. It's about your partner feeling like they were hurt and your actions affected them, and they just want you to know that how your actions have affected them. Your actions are separate from your inherent worth. I want you to really remember that, which means people can create boundaries and tell how your actions have affected them while loving you at the same time. It just means that they love you even more because they are doing the work of having an uncomfortable conversation, even though it's really difficult for them. So I need you to understand at that point of time, it's not about you. And it's not about your worth. It's just that one thing you did, because you're human, you make mistakes. They are just letting you know how that particular action affected them. So what can you actually do about it? Your priority should always be about acknowledging your partner's hurt rather than making them feeling like you're rushing the conversation to get to your intention of why you did a certain action. So for example, if your partner is coming to you with a concern, let's just say they are thinking that I felt hurt when you left me there earlier. And instead of you acknowledging that conversation by, oh, I'm sorry, but I had to go take a call, that's why you are overreacting. Instead of putting it that way, telling them that I'm really sorry I left you there, I understand how much hurt you have felt, and actually acknowledging that hurt, and then telling them that the reason why I left you there was because I had to go take a call. And this is important, following it up with by saying that, but I understand how me leaving you there must have affected you, and making sure that the conversation still stays on their concern and not your intention is extremely important. Now on to the discussion with your partner. I think it's also important to analyze why you feel so defensive. Is it because you're engaging in this sort of black and white thinking? Do you feel like they will perceive you as a bad person? Is it because you need to do some more self-work around morality, guilt, shame? Or is it also because your partner does not show enough gratitude for the things you do for them, but rather criticizes you for hours on end about all the things that you do not do for them? In that cases, I think you're bound to get defensive because you feel like you're not being appreciated enough, but you're being criticized. In those cases, I think it's essential for you to have that conversation with your partner, not when they are expressing their hurt and concern, but at some other time. Because when you bring this up, when they are telling you about something they have been bothered by, it just comes across as defensiveness, and you are not going to be heard anyway. So make sure you have this conversation with your partner when it's not in a time where one of you is hurt by something else. Moreover, according to a study, you at least need for every negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions. So if this ratio is off to you, make sure you talk with your partner on how you can show more gratitude and more positivity within your relationship, and what are the things you can do to make sure that your relationship is so strong to the point where even when you come across with a concern and when you're vulnerable with your partner, you can get through it without it being a whole deal about all the underlying issues, because you have already talked about all the underlying issues. The third habit is contempt. You making jokes about your partner, you rolling your eyes at them, you thinking that they are not smart enough as you, and you basically putting yourself in a pedestal than them and making them feel like they are not smart enough, they are not worthy enough, they are not good enough for you to even love, and you chose them in spite of all of that. I think it's the worst of them all, and I see it all the time, especially being from an Indian family, especially when I go for functions and like when I go to a place where they generally make wife jokes. Luckily that does not happen within my family, but I have seen people in functions where they talk about their wife as if they are not smart enough, the only thing they are meant for is the kitchen, and it pisses me off because your wife gave her entire life to make sure that you and your child is provided, and this is how you show your appreciation towards them. So if you are the kind of person who thinks that your partner is not good enough, or you think that you're better than them, please let them go. And I know this is not a save your relationship kind of advice, but at the end of the day, your partner is supposed to inspire, your partner is supposed to make you feel like you need to be a better person for them. And if your partner does not do that for you, this is not the right relationship. Move on and make sure that you find a person who you're inspired by, and let them find the person who truly loves them for who they are. That being said, if you're doing this unknowingly and it's because you have such perfectionistic tendencies and you are kind of projecting it onto your partner and you really want that to change, what is something you can do about it? One thing I would suggest is make a list of all the amazing things your partner does that you felt like this is the reason why I fell in love with them. Make that list, and whenever you feel like you're being cruel in your interactions with them, or even when you had a disagreement and the way you're thinking about them you feel like is cruel, go and read that list and make sure that you have a culture of appreciation within your relationships, because your partner really deserves it. Your partner really deserves to know that you love them for who they are, and not the service that they provide for you. So your list shouldn't be like, oh, they cook for me or they do laundry for me. No, that shouldn't be it. Not the service, but the things that make them who they are. They are very smart, they are very kind, I love the way they see the world, I love how creative they are. Things like this that you would be inspired by. And so let's just imagine your partner is not your boyfriend or girlfriend. Even in spite of all that, if they are far away, would you still admire them for these qualities? Those are the things you have to write down. Obviously you can write down about the things on how they make you feel, but the list should not be just based on the services they provide you, but rather how they are as a person. The final habit is stonewalling. Stonewalling happens when one person in the relationship effectively shuts down any sort of communication by either giving the silent treatment because they were affected by something, or because they are overwhelmed and their brain kind of shuts down and they do not know how to effectively communicate. Either way, it can be a very vicious cycle where one person constantly wants to talk about something and the other person does not want to have any sort of uncomfortable conversations. And it can be very hard for the person who's trying to communicate their feelings because they feel like they are not being heard enough. So what can you actually do about it? What I would suggest is, if your partner is the one who shuts down, look at all the signs that might point to they are about to shut down, such as they become more silent, they are not effectively giving their inputs to you, you feel like they are not actually listening to you and it's almost vacant at that point. Instead of getting mad at them, try to give them the space to take a brief pause. And do not force them to have that conversation right then and there, because it's really not going to help either of you. They are just going to feel so overwhelmed and you're going to feel like they do not care about me and they do not want to have any sort of conversation with me, and it's just not going to help either of you. So give them the space to take a break. And I think this is where it gets tricky. The partner who took the break has to be the one to come back and finish the conversation. Because if they do not do that and you are the kind of person who shoves it under the rug, it can be very hard for your partner, because they would still feel like they are not being acknowledged and they will try to bring up the conversation again, and you are just going to feel like, why are they trying to ruin a good moment? But they're just voicing their concerns because they just want to feel validated in their pain and they just want to feel loved by you. So it's not their fault that they are bringing it up. So it's your responsibility, if you took the break, to actually go and finish that conversation. So these are the 4 habits that can either make or break your relationship. I want you to share this video with your partner, or next time when you're having a disagreement, try employing one of the techniques that I mentioned, and if it goes really well and they ask you, how did you suddenly learn about this, tell them that you're subscribed to my channel. Go do it now. I also want to give a shout out to a comment in my previous video. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much, and this can be you, so make sure you comment down below. Please like this video if this was some sort of help to you, and I'll see you in my next video. I love you guys so much. Bye.